Good afternoon and welcome to Dateline New Haven on WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio at 103.5 FM, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. Happy National Library Week, everybody. We're going to celebrate it by talking to New Haven's own superstar librarian, Diane Brown, the librarian of the Stetson Branch Library in Dixwell. Hello, Librarian Brown. Thanks for coming on the air.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Does anyone call you Librarian Brown? Is it like doctor and attorney and
No,
everything?
they call me urban librarian or maybe soon to be doctor. I'm going to actually start my doctorate, continue. I started at one point and I stopped, but maybe at some point I'll be Dr. Librarian.
Oh, that'll be nice. Well, anyway, Dick Stetson Library is our marquee library in New Haven. We have a lot of great libraries, and Stetson is everything a library should be. It's a place, of course, we get books, but it's also where the community comes together to get knowledge, share information, and be a community. And just what are you doing? Anything special this week for National Library Week, Diane Brown?
Well, actual library week, I believe was last week, but
Oh, I
the
thought it was this week.
16th is actual National Librarian Day.
Oh, okay.
But for me, every day is a special day. Every day is a librarian day for me. Um, just we're closed to the public right now because we're preparing for our move. So the other branches have certain amount of hours and set amount of individuals that can come in to get services. Right now, we're just offering curbside services because we're preparing for the move. But myself and my children's librarian, we do 2 to 3 times a week. We do get out into the community to see what's going on. We go over to People Get Ready bookstore. We walk the community. We go out in the parking lot in the back. We'll play around with the children. We'll talk to patrons that come on the plaza. So we try to engage ourselves in the community 2 to 3 times a week. We miss the interaction with the community.
Curbside pickup, that started with the pandemic, correct? Where
Yes, sir.
people borrow from. So how does that work? People email you, call you up, say, I'd like to borrow this book, and then you meet them outside and
Yes,
give it to them?
so people will call the branch and they will say, or they'll go on our go through the online services and they'll put a book on hold, or they'll call us and tell us a particular book or a digital item, DVD or CD, and then we will place it on hold. And then they'll let us know what time they plan on picking it up. We'll give them the hours and the days that we're available, and they come to the door, and it's called curbside, and we bring it to the door and we hand it off to them.
We a lot of New Haven discovered just how crucial Stetson was over the past 2 decades under your leadership. When the Dixwell Q House was closed, community center
Yes,
is about to reopen a brand new one with a new Stetson library. And when we don't have to go back over this, we've done this before, but some bad things happened in the community for young people, shootings and stuff. And Stetson became the place
yes,
where kids were safe, got
yes,
mentorship, did their homework, where people who needed jobs were using the internet in those early days and nobody had it at home in the lower income
yes,
and not too many people, and where community groups who want to do something about challenges in the community. Stetson was the home base, I'm thinking of CTU Bat and stuff like that. And you're keeping that going even with the pandemic and close for the move. This past Sunday, I saw you at a great event at
yes. It
People
was
Get Ready
awesome.
bookstore around the
Yes,
corner of Whaley. Chris Big Dog Davis gave a concert that was awesome, two of them.
yes.
How does that fit into the library's mission, doing a concert like that?
Well, especially during this time, there are members of the community that are just, some of them are homebound, they've retired, people just wanting to get out and get out into the world and enter into a safe space outside of their home. So when Chris came to me with the idea, and we began to grow the idea, and I went to People Get Ready Books. I know that they have a space that's next door to the bookstore that they use periodically, and we all sat down and we met. We had lunch, and we decided that this would be a good thing for the community, and it would be a good thing for a small business owners such as People Get Ready to introduce people to that space or reintroduce people to that space. And it also gave Stetson an opportunity to go out into the community and offer something to the community. As you know, you were there. We had 2 shows, and social distancing was in effect. People were there, They enjoyed themselves. The music was great. People got an opportunity to browse books at the bookstore. It was a good day, and it keeps us connected to the community because a library, I keep telling people, a library is not just all about books. It's a place where people come together, people meet, people communicate, people get information. So it's not just, a home for books, it's a home for the community.
Stetson has always been. And you're listening to Diane Brown, who's the branch librarian at Stetson, been for more than a decade now. And Diane's gotten a lot of recognition, not just in New Haven, where we all know her and love her, but Diane was the 2015 national winner of the I Love My Librarian Award from the American Library Association for outstanding work. And she's also gotten the Connecticut Library Association Special Achievement Award in 2017 because of that work you do in the community. How did that national and state recognition impact your day-to-day life in the system? Does the Stetson get the support and recognition that it needs in the community? Did it help to find out that the nation recognized what a service you were doing in that community?
I believe that the community, the village itself, was very proud. And I did not do the work alone. It's myself and my staff, along with members of the community, that helped to gain the national recognition. But I'm not sure of how much it did for me in my own system. I do belong to a five branch system, and I still have to fight. I still have to struggle within my own system for things that I feel as though this community deserves. But I say that to say, to let people know, when you go to library school and they begin to talk about public library services, whether you're black, you're white, you're green, you're orange, you're yellow, they tell you as a part of your unofficial oath as a public librarian, a big portion of your job is to provide services for the community in which that particular branch library sits. So my branch library just so happens to sit in the Dixwell New Hallville community. Not to say that we don't provide service, we provide services for anyone that comes to our library. But because this library sits in basically 100% African American community village, Dixwell and New Hallville, no matter what color I am or would be, my job would be to provide services that meets the needs of the individuals that are surrounding the branch. That, like I said, it goes for anyone. So it just so happens that I'm black, I'm a librarian, I was born and raised in Dixwell and New Hallville. So I am basically doing what taxpayers are paying me to do. Um, so, but I still have to fight within my own system at times. I am a little hopeful that we have a new administration in now that has been in less than 2 years. All four administrators have been in the positions they're in now for just less than 2 years. They hear me. I've had conversations with them, each one on one. They understand, some of them who have been here in the system, they understand my struggle. My struggle just did not begin yesterday. My struggle began day one. In fact, when I became a librarian in this system, the former library director, the only black library director the system had, Mr.
James
James
Wellborn.
Wellborn. James Wellborn. He was my mentor. God bless him. He told me from day one that it was going to be a fight from the day I accepted a position here until the day I left. And he said, that's because years and years and years, this institution is no different than any other institution. Years and years of institutional racism. And it's going to take time for that to break down. You're going to have to get administrators and people in this system that are just going to be willing to tear those walls down. You have individuals that come in that perpetuate the same behavior, the same attitude, the same actions, and it's going to take years. And you're going to just have to be one of those individuals to continue to fight for what you need in that branch for your community. So I know that all the administrators know how I feel. They've heard me, and they know that I don't back down. I will continue to fight for what I believe this community needs and what the community is telling me that they need.
So specifically, what are some of the battles you fought? Was it about funding? Was it about staffing? Was it about permission to do certain activities? What have been some examples of that struggle from day one?
Well, from in the beginning, it was little things. So not this administration, but previous administrations. Programs are not important. You should be raising your circulation.
Oh, so
Okay.
they're measuring it by books.
So determining the worth of the branch by circulating. This branch historically has circulated fewer books than any other branch in the system. And part of that goes with statistics that go in through the state, funding, and they want to know how many books are circulating. But the current administration that we have now, um, they understand that it's more than just a book circulating. But historically, and when I first came in, it was about circulation. You're not you got to get more people to circulate the books. And then in the back of my ear and hearing people under their breath and people coming to me telling me what was said by certain individuals. Well, Black people don't read. Those are the kinds of things that I had to deal with initially when I first came in.
How did you deal with that?
How I dealt with it is I took it. I'm transparent. I took it to the community, and I said, "This is what I'm dealing with." Um, I began to talk to the community about, circulating books. Many members of the community came inside and used books in house. They did not circulate the books, and some people told me why. Some people were in transition from different place to place, and they didn't want to be responsible for the books. So there were many reasons why the books did not circulate, and I'm not making excuses, but there were some legitimate reasons why. But I explained to the community what that meant. So when when the new director, and then prior to Mr. Wellborn coming in, I had another director that would make comments about what he envisioned or what he believed a library should look like. And he and I constantly were bumping heads because I was saying to him, every location branch is going to be look different and offer different things. It's not a one size fits all. We're out of library school now. This is reality. This is the real world. We're in the field. So we have to adapt, take our knowledge and what we've learned and transform that and use that to help the community and not sit back and point the finger and say one is right and one is wrong. There's a friend of mine that always says it's different. It takes understanding. It doesn't make one right and one wrong. It's just different and all should be respected. So I had those fights. And then
Well,
when
it's interesting because that was like the late 2000s. You've been in the job 13 years, is it?
I've been here since 2004.
But
So
how
that's
long you been the
something.
branch
I've been
librarian?
the branch. I became the branch manager in 2006, I believe.
Right, because it was right after that where when important things happened in the community, Stetson emerged as the epicenter of the response. We talked about those shootings where the
Yes.
kids were there after school. We talked about CT Rabat, but I've been there for a lot of things. And I remember one thing that was important was the computers. Now, this is a different age from now, right? Not
Yes.
no one had the phone then, right? Nobody was doing the
Right.
computer on the phone.
Not like they do
And I
now.
remember that there was all those computers were in use for people who were trying to get jobs, get other kind of information services, link up to government. And it seemed to me that like that was people had to understand what a library was, that was information, that was words, that was also
Exactly.
reading.
Exactly. And I brought my skills that I took prior. I worked with the city. I was a pre-employment training instructor, and we ran, or I ran workshops on how to write resumes and cover letters, not
Mhm.
only how to get a
Remember
job, but
that?
how to keep a job, proper protocol, proper dress. We did those things. And thanks to Mr. Wellborn, who was the director at that time when CT Rabat and Officer Shafiq was in here, Mr. Wellborn is the one that said to me, you need to look at Chicago Public Library, New York Public Library, big city libraries. And it's not about circulating. They are now beginning to bring programs in that will bring people in. You can't get people to circulate a book. You got to get them in the branch first. So those types of programs that we offer to the community Now you have to check out a book about how to write a resume, how to dress for success. So then the circulation began to heighten when we began to bring those programs in, when people felt like there was a need to take a book out that would help them in their daily life. This was not about reading for joy. This was about reading for survival.
And you've told me before about how you grew up understanding the importance of a library in the community. There used to be a New Hallville branch. You
Yes,
lived near there, and even though you had an engaged parent at home who taught you about a lot of stuff, I think pretty early, you still were at that library quite a bit. What did you
yes.
learn from that experience as a kid that you've been able to bring as a community librarian in your adulthood?
I knew as a child, Stetson Branch Library was once located in a Carnegie building, which is a church now at the corner of Dixwell and Thompson. And my sister and my sister Sally, who's just 3 years older than I, we were allowed to go to the library once a week after school, and on Saturdays they had programs. And I clearly remember um, that there were not a lot of black books in that library, because I remember recall my mother having that conversation, because my mother would get whatever black books she could get for us that were available at the time, which wasn't very few. And but there were programs there. We played dominoes and we got to interact. They have puppet shows. So as a child, even the thing that I remember the most from libraries was the programming and people in the community that looked like me that would come in and do different things. Not so much the books, because there were not a lot of books with people that looked like myself. So when I became a librarian, that was one of the things that I knew that I wanted to do. I wanted to create an environment that little black and brown children can walk into, and they can see and they can learn about their culture and their history, not just children but adults as well. So that part was very important for me.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you've done that as the librarian session? You've talked about the programs, which are crucial. You talked about fighting within the system to get an awareness of what Stetson was about and how to measure success. Have you all? I know you've brought authors in as well and musicians. I mean, Chris Big Dog Davis is a Grammy-nominated producer. He tours the world as a musician, recording artist. You bring him in with the kids. Anything else you've done so they see that story, the books that you didn't see as a kid? Have you done anything with the collection?
Yeah, so we've had some very very nice programs. We had um, um, Mr. Napier, when Tuskegee Airmen came in here, Stetson Library several years ago, and we must have had we were over capacity. We had over 300 people here on that day. We had to reschedule it 3 times because of the weather. But Mr. Napier, God bless him, he was an older gentleman, but he refused to give up. He said, "I will be there." We've had authors come in. Um, we've done things with Long Wharf Theater. We've done
Right, you did that where they brought into the community
where
when
they
there were
brought
plays
in
that had
actors
local
in, and
communities.
we've done acts from different plays, community conversations. There's so many things that there's we've had. I mean, you name it. We tried to hear Stetson. We've had Neil Murphy with Kids Cook. We've had cooking programs. We've had knitting clubs, book clubs. Um, we had a
Right,
robot.
we've heard about the book club you had. That was a real
Yeah,
popular.
we had 2 book clubs. We had a robot that actually came
I
in,
remember that.
that threw the basketball and played with the children. We had build a computer day, where 2 children actually got to help to build a laptop that they were able to take home. Um, we've had uh, how to purchase your own home, how to repair your credit. Um, I can't even begin to think.
And now you're
We've had
flashing on
harvest parties where there's been like 500 or 600 children that have come through the front door and out the back door, because we couldn't hold them all. But we've had some very successful programs that meet different needs for
and you
different.
reminded me of so many things you've gone to cover because it's so special what you've accomplished there with your links to the community. We're talking to Diane Brown. I had it wrong. It's not National Library Week. I was a week off on that one, but it's National Librarian Day coming. And New Haven superstar librarian Diane Brown of Stetson. Before we go, I'd like to take a peek at the future. So Stetson was recognized by the city as such a crucial institution that it's getting a home in the new grand, it was $21 million Q house that's being rebuilt, the community center across from Stetson. And how's that looking? When are you moving in, and how much money was raised for that?
So I want to make it clear, and I got to have to give credit where credit is due. Thanks to our library board and the patron board of the New Haven Free Public Library, they raised over $3.5 million to build
Excellent.
Stetson Library. So I want the community to know that it was just not taxpayers' dollars, that the boards of this library are committed to this library system as a whole and the
Is that a
dedication.
Stetson board, or was that the citywide
That's
library?
that's that's a so we have a citywide executive board for the library, and then we have the patrons board, which can go off and raise funds for a library. A lot of cities call it the Friends of the Library or whatever, but ours is a patron board. So that patron board raised 3.5 over $3.5 million.
And is that a patient board just for Stetson or for the whole
No,
city?
it's for the New Haven Free Public Library system. It's the
And
patron board.
so when are you moving in?
So, well, we look into moving probably end of July, beginning of August. We will still need time to set up. The shelving has to go in, the books have to go in, the technology has to go in. It's a lot to set up a library. It's not going to happen overnight. Me personally, I'm probably looking at, for me, I see at the end of August, beginning of September, for us to really say that we are a fully functioning library, if that, because it is going to take time. I mean, there's a technology team that has to go in and set up the technology. Myself, my staff, we have to go in. But we're prepared. We're prepared for programmings. We're planning now. But just so before we end, Paul, I want to say really quickly, over the course of the summer, they can check with the branch. They can call us at 203-946-8119. And we will be offering some programs in the back of Stetson, some social distance programs for the community, particularly children. And we're going to be calling that Stetson on the Street. And we are going to be going out into the community to different neighborhoods. Honda Smith has invited us. Kim Harris has invited us. Different daycares and facilities and organizations, they have invited us to come on site to bring information, books, and crafts and programs. So we will be out in the community for the summer.
Stetson on the street.
Stetson
And then
on the Street.
Stetson at the Q. How excited are you about your new library?
I'm very excited. I'm excited for the community. Um, it'll be a part of my legacy. Not saying when I'm going to be leaving, but I won't be here forever. Um, at this point, I'm probably trying to create, what's my next chapter going to
Mhm.
be. I'll be around for a few more years, but it's very exciting for the community. I want to make sure that
So
too.
what's it going to be like? Like, what's the size difference, and what's going to be special about the new space?
I always forget the size, but it's a little. The book capacity is not larger, but the space is larger, and it is on 2 floors.
Mhm.
It's on 2 levels, and the children's area is all on the lower level, and the adults and the teens are on the upper level, which I think is really great because the children do need to have their own level.
Mhm. Well, Diane Brown, it's such a pleasure to catch up with you. Salute you on all the great work you do. The nation recognizes it, and even if it's not always recognized at home, we just know that we love you and that we feel very special that you make our entire city a better place because of the great work you do at Stetson.
I
And
love New Haven as well, and thank you, Paul, for always taking care of Stetson. I appreciate
so
it.
that's this National Library Day, April 16th. I
Yes.
stand corrected on the week. Diane Brown, the master of ceremonies, not just librarian at Stetson, to make so many community events happen. This summer, call the library about Stetson on the Street. They're going to be out in the community. And then this fall, the next chapter in the story with the new Stetson Library. You're listening to Dateline New Haven. We're going to take a little break. And then continuing on the book theme, we're going to talk to a man who at 95 years old went from writing books about politics and world governments for academia to writing a children's book about a blade of grass. So hold tight. We're going to listen to the Afro-Semitic experience, playing some jazz. Our station manager, Harry Jarrell, will keep you occupied for a few minutes. And then we'll come right back on the other side in just a couple of minutes here with part two of this segment of Dateline Haven. And thank you, Diane.